Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today's session. My name is Vic Medarata. I'm the Director of Product Marketing for myTrailhead. We're so excited to have myTrailhead finally live, available for you now to purchase. We have been working on the tool for about 2.5 years, and we went live earlier this year at Sydney World Tour on March 6th, actually. So what we're going to show today is how do you extend myTrailhead just beyond by logging in and completing badges and earning points. But the real value of myTrailhead is how do you evangelize the Salesforce platform to make it more automated for you. Take the Salesforce platform, let it do all the heavy lifting for your learners, for you as the admins or developers. How can you get creative with the Salesforce platform to make learning a fun, cultural way in your company? So Chris and Adil are going to walk you through a cool demo to show you what they've done. But the innovation doesn't stop here. We've been working on this for about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, but we're going to evangelize what we've built today, but also reach out to the community and ask how you're thinking of doing things at your company. We'll share those ideas, and we'll help build these components that the guys have built here. But without further ado, I want to invite Adil and Chris to take it away. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. My name's Adil Jaffer. I'm a solution engineer with Salesforce, and here's my friend Chris Marzilli. He's part of the customer
success team. I work on platform success.
There we go. So what we've done is we've put together a presentation to really highlight how you can integrate myTrailhead with your org in order to supercharge productivity. And if you're here to see how to set up myTrailhead and how to create trails, this is not the training for you. This training is about taking what you can do with myTrailhead and integrating with your org. And as we kind of go through this presentation, we're going to highlight how you're going to be able to see that. So let's go through this. Forward-looking statement. So everyone's favorite slide. Please make any purchases based on what we're selling today. And I think that's pretty much it for this one. So why is learning important? If you think about, studies show that if you've invested 5 hours a week in learning, employees see 39% increase in productivity, 47% decreased levels in stress, and my favorite, 21% improvement in happiness. Why is not doing learning bad? Well, not doing learning bad, companies that don't do this, studies show 80% lower adoption rate, 64% greater employee turnover, and 60% longer to become proficient in their jobs. So integrating learning into your workforce has some real benefits. How myTrailhead is going to enable you to do that, because, in a few ways here. Well, myTrailhead, one is that its onboarding will be a lot quicker and faster because it's bite-sized learning. And that doesn't just stop there, because what we're going to be able to do, what we're going to show you is what if, once they've been onboarded, all those gaps in knowledge that they have in terms of product knowledge, all those gaps they have in regards to knowledge and how to use the Salesforce platform or how to use their tools, what if you can identify those gaps using the platform and then target them with targeted learnings to fill in those gaps? So rather than give them this broad-based ranging curriculum, you're targeting them with learning. And that's going to supercharge productivity because you're targeting the spaces that need to be filled. And beyond that, you can also use the collaboration tools integrated into the platform in order to extend learning so it becomes part of the team atmosphere and part of the learning goals that that employee has at that company. And when you've done something like that, you're going to change the onboarding process. Because what's going to happen, if you think about the no learning integration piece of it, at the top here, we have a start date, we have an onboarding gets completed, then once the onboarding is completed, there's a certain amount of time it takes before the individual is productive. And once they are productive, then it's a matter of time before, hey, how long before they leave the company when they get bored of the role and they find something else? What if we change that paradigm? What if we use myTrailhead in order to shorten the onboarding time with bite-sized learning and bite-sized training? What if we then use targeted learning to target the specific gaps in knowledge and gaps in Salesforce knowledge that they have in order to shorten the time to productivity so they're productive a lot sooner? And then, what if we give them goals within the company that they can reach? We give them an atmosphere of learning within the company so they enjoy coming to work more. And we extend the time that those employees stay within the organization and be productive. So rather than this employee leaving this company at the end of 8 months or so, they're finding a new role within the organization and continuing to add value. So that's the value proposition here. That's what we're saying. Let's change things. So let's look at that from the point of view of Maya. So Maya, she's graduated about 2 years ago. She just finished college. She's got loans to pay off. And she's been bouncing around from job to job over the last 2 years. And the thing is Maya finds, the last 2 jobs were not very interesting. They were boring, but they were a paycheck, and they paid off her loans. And the thing is that when Maya got bored of her job, near the end of that time, she went and found something else to do. But these aren't careers for her. But that's going to change for Maya, because Maya has just accepted a role at Pacifica Software. And Pacifica Software has taken the approach of integrating learning in Maya's experience using Service Cloud. So this is what I'm going to walk you through today, is her journey using Service Cloud with that integrated learning. And we're going to see Maya's going to have this really quick and easy onboarding process with all the benefits of bite-sized learning. And then next, we're going to improve her performance through those recommended trails, identifying gaps where Maya doesn't have the product knowledge, and identifying gaps where Maya doesn't know certain features in Salesforce, the adoption issues. So target both of those pain points, and Maya then is going to become more productive sooner. And then beyond that, now Maya has this elective learning that she's signing up for. We're going to provide Maya, notifications and put this top of mind for her so she stays on track for her learning goals, because at the end of the day, Maya has joined this culture of learning at Pacifica. And part of that culture of learning is she's got goals that she's looking at achieving, and she has a team that she's learning with at the same time. And we're going to see how she's going to join that community of learning and how you're going to be able to foster that with something like myTrailhead. That's going to start with Maya receiving an email on the first day that she joined Pacifica. Because the thing is, the last company that Maya joined with, the first couple of days was she didn't know where she was going, she didn't know what she was doing, and it was a lot of waiting around. Really bad first impression. Well, Maya's getting a great first impression with Pacifica. Because as soon as she walks in that door, hey Maya, this is what you need to do. When you log in, here's your onboarding process. And let's see what Maya's onboarding process looks like. So, Maya logs in the app, and she's going to see a custom onboarding application put in front of her with a pathway on what she needs to do to become, to get on the phones. The step-by-step progression. And that's great for Maya, because she's new. She doesn't know what the steps are. So let's outline those steps, and then let's automate that onboarding process with the learnings, because Maya's going to come in here, and as soon as she finishes hey, I got my workstation, I got my phone assigned, I'm going to mark this stage complete, and I want to point out to you guys on the top right corner there, because that's the trails that have been assigned to Maya. And as soon as she marks this as complete, she's now assigned a trail. She knows, hey, here's that bite-sized learning that I need to accomplish now to finish this first stage of my goals. She can go ahead and click on that, open up that training, and start diving into the individual modules. Now, if you think about it, the last time Maya had to do this type of training, she had to do it at her desk, she had a ton of learning to do, and it was very daunting. But this is bite-sized in the sense that when she starts clicking on these individual modules, everything's broken up for Maya in these little tiny chunks. And we've got videos integrated, we've got pictures integrated, and we've got a really, quiz at the end for Maya to fill out so that Maya is able to absorb that learning in small little pieces. And Maya can do this because this is mobile friendly. Maya can do this on the way home from work. She can do this in the cafeteria instead of playing Candy Crush. There's a lot of places where Maya can do the learning at her own pace and do it in a way that's more enjoyable for her because it's more convenient. Now, Maya's gone and she's done that learning process. She's doing these trails. She finishes her onboarding, and let's go ahead and complete that onboarding process. The next thing I'm going to show you is once that onboarding process is complete, if we look at the CSR learning group that Maya is a part of, that all her teammates are a part of, a chatter post has just been posted to that group, letting everyone know that Maya's completed all this training and that she's ready to take that CSR role, bringing her into the community of learning that her team is already enjoying right now. And as the rest of her teammates are completing badges and completing challenges in myTrailhead and learning in their organization, here's the forum that they can start sharing those accomplishments with, congratulating each other and working as a team to improve their learning goals. So, let's fast forward a bit now. Maya's onboarded, she's starting her job, and the thing is she's not terribly great at it right now. She's got a lot of gaps in her knowledge. There's things that she just doesn't know. And so, as she starts opening her first case, she starts working on this case, and I'll point to that top right corner again. And we'll see that Salesforce is recommending that she takes this trail regarding macros. The thing is, Maya didn't know anything about macros. And this is great for Maya because it's almost like Salesforce is looking at the things that she's using in Service Cloud and is surfacing learning for Maya to address that gap in her knowledge. And this is going to help her improve her adoption of features in Salesforce and make her more productive. Let's look at the next case that Maya gets. So Maya's going to get another case. Oh, look, flux capacitors. Who hates flux capacitors? Maya doesn't know anything about flux capacitors. And these cases make it so hard for her. But when she classifies this case, let me just unclassify it and then reclassify it. Again, point to the top right corner, and we see a module has been recommended to Maya. Hey, Maya, maybe you should sign up for this module, because this module is directed towards the product that you're working on right now, and if you have gaps in your knowledge, here's a way to fill in those gaps. And as Maya uses Salesforce more and more of these recommendations pop up in terms of, hey, here's a piece of product knowledge. Here's a piece of custom branded Pacifica content that is related to you doing your job better in the moment that you need to get it done. And so now Maya is getting more and more productive as she's working. And this is great for her because before, Maya got a whole binder full of knowledge that she had to learn. Instead, she's being targeted with targeted learning at the moment of need. Now, let's say that Maya's been signing up for a lot of this training and or a lot of this learning, a lot of these modules she's signed up for. It's a lot to keep track of. What's going to keep Maya on track of this learning? So let me log out. Maya's going to go for lunch. And let's say she's going to log back in when she gets back for lunch. And the first thing that Maya is going to be greeted with is a login flow. And the login flow is going to promote to Maya, hey, Maya, remember you signed up for that learning? Here it is again. Maybe you want to take that learning now. But what's important here is that learning is top of mind for Maya, so she knows, or she's brought to the surface, so she stays on track for her learning goals. And when she does log in, on our home page, that learning is there for her again, reminding her the things that she's assigned for. That's the Lightning Web component on the top right corner. Now, something else, when we talk about Maya and her journey at Pacifica, she wants to be part of this community of growth. And as she gets better and better at her role, she's becoming more and more productive for Pacifica. She's a valuable employee. The last thing that her manager wants, or Pacifica's management in general wants, is for Maya to leave and go somewhere else. So, what Maya also sees on her homepage is an analytics dashboard letting her know, hey, Maya, here's how you're doing in relationship to the rest of your team. Here's how you're performing, and this is going to motivate Maya. Hey, I'm only one spot up from the leaderboard. Maybe I should take up some more learning. Maybe I should take up some more challenges, and maybe I want to be part of that learning culture some more. And beyond that, Maya's going to go ahead and click on goals, for example, and there's career progression goals set aside that management has defined. Hey, if you want to be eligible for this next role in our organization, do these trails. Do this learning to become eligible for those roles, and then you can apply. And Maya knows, hey, this is great. I've just been learning on the fly, but I'm only, I'm 85.71% away from a level 2 CSR, and wouldn't that be amazing? Or maybe I want to go to inside sales, right? And I want to be a level 1 inside sales individual. And I can maybe start working on those badges. And then what that's going to do is that's going to motivate Maya to sign up for more learnings, to grow her career in Pacifica, and at the end of that, 8 months or a year or 2 years or however long it takes for her to get to those learning goals, rather than her leave Pacifica, she's going to move on to a role within, another role within Pacifica. So that demo, you think about it, at the end of all of this, Maya is now, instead of her being bored in her job, instead of her leaving to want to go somewhere else, she's now a productive, useful employee in Pacifica who's probably going to stay and do something else productive at Pacifica after her role as a CSR level 1. There's a lot of stuff I showed you in that demo. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn over to Chris, and Chris is going to walk through what we showed so that you can see how we built this and how you can take myTrailhead and integrate into your orgs to get that same benefit. Chris?
Thanks, Adele. Hey, man, awesome demo. That was great. So let's kind of look under the hood a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about how we actually did that. I'm part of one half of the development team that built most of what you saw. So first thing you have to understand is that there's an app on the App Exchange called the Trail Tracker. Is anybody familiar with the Trail Tracker app? Okay, a few people. It's a free app. It's available to anybody who wants it. It's built by Salesforce, and it can sync down a whole bunch of stuff from Trailhead and myTrailhead to your Salesforce org. Now, if you're not a myTrailhead customer, it will just sync down the public Trailhead. If you are a myTrailhead customer, it will sync down all of your custom myTrailhead content. Now, as part of the Trail Tracker, you have a number of objects that you would be familiar with. They're user badge and user trail mix. Those are your assignment junction objects that assign users to content, either a badge or a trail mix. You also have a very special object called trail mix assignments. This is an object that you can use, admins and developers can use, to insert assignments into the system. You could use Process Builder. You can create assignments manually by just clicking New. You could use like the bulk API to upload assignments into the trail mix assignment object. And that is going to actually kick off the Trailhead API and assign those assignments for you. You also, of course, have your trail mix and badge objects. Those represents all the trail mix, both public and myTrailhead trails and trail mixes you have in your system. And this Trail Tracker app, once installed, will sync on a regular basis, usually daily, to your org to get all of your new content. So that's pretty simple, and again, it's free. Anybody can use it. What we did as part of this demo was extend the Trail Tracker app. So when we talk about the onboarding process, obviously we built a custom object for the onboarding process. You saw it. It's a pretty simple custom object. Had a path, had a few checkboxes, nothing terribly complicated there. We did use Process Builder as the onboarding process it was advanced. We used Process Builder to create that trail mix assignment record, and that hit the Trailhead API, and the trail mix was assigned to Maya. You saw that happen almost in near real time, and that was the trail mix assignment object. So the in-app recommendations, what we did wasn't using AI or anything so cool. It was just simply using a custom object. We created a recommendations custom object. The way the recommendations custom object worked is that it had a user lookup, it had a lookup to a badge or a trail mix, and it also had a lookup to the record that the recommendation came from. And what we did is we used Process Builder to be our rules engine. We'll say, hey, if someone's going to get a flux capacitor case, we're going to assign them, or we're going to recommend them the recommendation, the flux trail. And we created a Lightning component. I'll get a little bit deeper into the Lightning component. It was a Lightning web component that we created to show the recommendations. For the login reminder, that was pretty simple. We actually used Flow. Are people here familiar with Flow? Flow is like literally the greatest tool for admins since sliced bread. We used a Flow and a Lightning component, and we attached it to Maya's profile. So that way, it would look to see if she had any assignments upon logging in. If she didn't have any assignments, it would just simply keep going with the login process. If it did find assignments for her, it would pop it up. So let's kind of take a look at some of these items. First, we'll look at the simple process builder, assigning a trail mix. Again, this is real easy, nothing super complicated. We started with the onboarding object. We looked at the stage. If the stage was at goal 1, remember in Adil's demo, he went from workstation complete to goal 1. When that happened, we created the trail mix assignment. We just created the trail mix assignment record. All we had to do was give it the trail mix ID. By the way, you can't use that ID. The IDs will be created when you sync down the trail mixes to your org, so it'll be a little bit different. And then we added to the user to make sure that that assignment got added to the user. So we looked at the onboarding record, we said Maya completed that stage, and we created the trail mix assignment record. And then that kicked off the Trailhead API, and the trail mix got assigned. So pretty simple. We did very much the same, I'm not going to show it, but very much the same thing for the recommendation. Instead of a trail mix assignment record type, we actually created a recommendation record type. Let's take a look at the login flow. Again, flow is pretty much my favorite tool to use. This was a really simple flow. It starts here with a query. It'll look to see, hey, are there any trail mixes assigned to Maya when she's logging in? If there was no trail mixes, it would look to see if there was badges. All right, and if any trail mixes or badges were found, you can see it flows down right here to a You Got Learning screen, which is again a Lightning component that we displayed upon login that you saw Adele show. Now, let's talk a little bit about the two Lightning components you saw. They probably looked very different to you. They're two Lightning components. This one was the first one we built that showed assignments and badges. And we just called it Trailhead Assignments. And then the second one we built was the contextual recommending one. So that they look like they're two different Lightning components, and they are actually two different Lightning components. But one thing we did is we used encapsulation. I said I'm one half of the development team. The first developer actually built this themselves, and then I came along and built the second one. But guess what? This second one was super easy for me to build because he actually created what we call private Lightning components and encapsulated some of his work. So the first thing he did was saying, hey, this list could get long. The recommendation list could get long. The assignment list can get long. So we need to paginate it because we don't want to show 100 badges. We probably only want to show 5 or 10. So we created an encapsulation here with a paginator. And then in each item is actually just an entry. All right? So when he built this, he actually built 3 Lightning components and compiled it to one. So you have each individual entry, which he called an assignment entry. And that was either a badge or a trail mix that was assigned. And then he created a paginator that listed all the single entries. And he built that a couple months ago. And I said, well, I don't want to show assignments. I want to show recommendations. So what I did is I created a second Lightning component, and I used this exact same 2 Lightning components. For me to build this Lightning component, it took me like an hour. We spent probably 100 times more work just putting together the session today than I did creating this Lightning web component. This is a great best practice when building Lightning web components, is make sure you break them down to the smallest pieces so to encourage reuse. He spent probably a day and a half building that Lightning component. I spent a couple hours building that one. So it's pretty amazing. Most of my work here was just creating some Apex in the back end that went and got recommendations versus going to get assignments. We thought about putting it all together in one Lightning component, but another best practice, sometimes that got a little hairy. I wanted to show recommendations. He was showing assignments. So we said, let's do 2 separate Lightning components, but using those same pieces. What's really great about some of these other things is that if we wanted to add things like due date to that, if he added due date to his component, I would get due date in my component, as you can see. A few other things we did here that we didn't necessarily show in the demo, but we did kind of highlight some due dates. If you had due dates in the past, we would show them in red. If you had due dates that were close coming up, we would show them in yellow. And we actually all made that configurable. One of the great things about Lightning components is that you can really empower admins as developers. You can empower admins to customize the way a component behaves or looks. So we added a number of design time elements. So when the admin drag and drops the Lightning component using the app builder, drags and drops the Lightning component on a page or the home page or a record page, they can actually change the behavior of a little bit, make it look a little different. So we have a couple things, we had some scenarios where maybe I only wanted to show badges, or I only wanted to show trail mixes, or maybe I want to show both. So the first thing is, what do you want to do? Do you want to show badges or trail mixes? We had 3 options, basically badges, trail mixes, or both. The next item we said, well, was page size. Maybe you have a smaller screen, or maybe you're expecting a larger screen. How many entries do you want to show? In this case, we're showing 5. You can go as high as you want. And then that's where the pagination will kick in. Also, events due in X number of days marked as upcoming. And upcoming simply means that yellow. So how far in advance do you want to start making due dates show up in yellow? Here we had 10. You could do 5. You could do 7 to represent a week. Any one of those you can do. And then what assignments to show. So there were some use cases about, hey, do I only want to show overdue? There might be some cases, maybe your login flow, you only want to show overdue, for example. You only want to show overdue assignments. So you can use this what assignments to show. I think we had overdue, upcoming, or just show all of them. In this case, we were just showing all of them. So those are kind of how we built our Lightning components. Hopefully you find it useful. If you want the code for the Lightning components and also the code for the recommendations object and some of the processes we use to assign the recommendations, you can go ahead and download it from the GitHub right there. Also, I would encourage everybody to download and install Trail Tracker because that is the tool we use to extend it. It's, again, free for everybody. It can sync down all of your Trailhead and Trailhead learning, and then you can extend it from there. That's pretty much the first step, and you will need the Trail Tracker if you want to use the Lightning Web Components. Otherwise, the Lightning Web Components are based upon the Trail Tracker objects, so you will need to have Trail Tracker installed to get the web components working. And then, of course, check out the Lightning Web Component trail. This was that web component you saw, the recommendations one. That was actually the first Lightning Web Component I'd ever built, and it took me just a couple hours, mostly because my fellow developer, Paul Roth, spent about a day and a half building the first Lightning component, made it really easy for me. But I learned a lot. I used the trail to kind of get my feet wet, build that Hello World web component, and then I was able to take what Paul had written and build the recommendations web component really simple. So I'd really encourage all of you to go and take a look at those web components. And I think that's pretty much how we wanted to show how we put it all together, and we're happy to take questions now. If anybody has any questions about either Trailhead, myTrailhead, Trail Tracker, or the Lightning Web Components we built, we're happy to take some questions. I think there's a mic right there if anybody wants to step up to the mic and talk. Go ahead. Yeah, so licensing for myTrailhead is built on a permission set license. So if you would purchase add-ons to your Sales Cloud or Service Cloud licenses, and then you'll get those permission set licenses in your org, and then you can assign it to your users.
And that allows you to create custom content as well as integrate with out-of-box Salesforce content.
Yeah, so the question was, once you have those licenses, it'll allow you to create custom content. Yeah, there's a couple different actually permission set licenses. There's just the learner license, where like Maya had, where she go in and learn and complete trails. Then there's the myTrailhead super user license and the content creation license. Depending on who you assign those to, those people will be able to go into myTrailhead and create the custom content.
With your custom trails. I mean, they have
Custom trails, badges, trail mixes.
all the options.
Yeah. Cool. Other questions? Could this be added to a community? Vic, do you want to take that question? Can you add it to a community?
Right now, so the question is, can you add myTrailhead onto a community cloud license? Right now, our offering is an internal enablement use case. So with that being said, myTrailhead is an available license onto your existing Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, or platform licenses. So we are working on the community cloud use case at the moment, but you'll hear more information at a later date. We'll make an announcement. But right now, it's Service, Sales, and Platform License add-on. Thanks.
So one thing I noticed is with the Service Cloud example, you had a recommendation for breakout flux capacitors. Why would you do that instead of having knowledge articles?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question was, if anybody here, we use recommendations. We had recommendations in Service Cloud to learn about flux capacitors versus using knowledge articles. Knowledge articles are typically targeted to your customers. I know some people use knowledge articles as internal, and that's perfectly valid use case. But this is about learning it, not about just reading and getting some information. What's nice about the flux capacitor is that the flux capacitor trail is that Maya can go through it, do the quiz, complete the learning, and it'll show that she has those skills. There's nothing to track that someone read or even understands a knowledge article.
Well, yeah, and the other thing when you think about knowledge articles is knowledge articles are sort of like, knowledge articles are sort of like if I have that case pops up and I need a quick answer, knowledge article will give you that quick answer. But in this case, Maya wanted deep learning about flux capacitors. So that she didn't just have like that top of mind answer, but she had a deeper understanding of what that product was about and more information on how it was applied broadly. And so if there is a distinction between the two of them in the sense that the knowledge article will help her solve that case in the next 5 minutes, but the trail will give her deep learning on that subject so she becomes a subject matter expert, not just be able to answer the question. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like if you think about it, at that point, you wouldn't need something like a Lightning Web component to do that. You would just actually article would pop up and say, hey, by the way, if you want to learn more about this, here's the link to the trail, right?
Yeah. And what I neglected to mention is that with the recommendation objects, we make it extensible so that you can create recommendations on anything in Salesforce, really. Any kind of object cases, you could have done leads, we could have done opportunities, we just use cases in this example.
Yeah, I mean, this same example is extensible to like sales teams as well. Or if you have internal users who are doing internal tasks within Salesforce, you can use this for the same use case as well, right?
Other questions?
The Lightning component and recommended courses,
Mm-hmm.
is that dependent on the set values on the case itself? So say you have the case owner and this is the recommended course for this person. Say I have 3 people from 3 different departments looking at the same case. Each one of them would have a different trail or a different learning opportunity for it depending on what they're doing in the case. So is that component dependent on the variable of the current user, or is it dependent on the case owner or staff building that?
So yes and no. I'll explain that answer. So the
Chris, do you mind just repeating what he said?
huh?
Just repeat.
Oh, sorry. He asked if the recommendation was based upon the user that's looking at the case versus the owner. And actually, the way we built the recommendations is we use Process Builder as the rule engines for the recommendations. So when Maya made the change to the case and selected flux capacitor, it recommended that she look at that flux capacitor trail. Had any other user gone into that case, whether they owned it or not, and made that change, it would have recommended to that user that they had done it. But the recommendation is tied to both the user and the case, regardless, and actually not just the case, but the object, whatever it is that you built the recommendation rule for. So yeah, it is user specific, and it also is object specific. So like again, we were using cases, but as Adele said, you could use leads, opportunities, custom objects, whatever you wanted to do. And when that trigger, or when that process kicked off and said, oh, this person just changed this value to that, and and when that happens, we want to recommend this trail, it's specific to that user who did that action.
So what would happen if you have 2 people looking at the same case and the process requires twice?
They would both get a recommendation. Yeah. We would store, recommendations are unique to a user and a record combination. We didn't get deep into the, if I make the change and someone else owns it. You could build those rules in to say, don't recommend it. We just didn't get that complicated for the demo.
Yeah, I mean, another thing to also think about too is that if you have access to next best actions, you could do a lot of this also in terms of doing the recommendations in next best actions as well. And next best actions has a lot of those rules built into it if you have that turned on for your org.
Adele, quick description of what next best action is for those who don't know.
So what next best action will do for you is imagine that you have this universe of recommendations that you could possibly apply for a specific case. Next best actions will narrow down which recommendations that will get surfaced based off of the user, based off of the case, based off conditions that exist, where the next best action is placed. until one recommendation will be recommended, and then the person can accept or deny it, and they'll try and move to the next recommendation. You can easily feed badges or trail mix assignments, for example, like we recommend that you take this trail, for example, as part of the next best action recommendations that you want to surface. So if you think about the tool of next best actions itself, especially for the Service Cloud scenario, where rather than just be recommending people an upsell opportunity or here's an upgrade or here's a way to make the service experience for the end customer better, but here's also a trail for the user to take. Hey, while you're working on this, we also recommend that you take this kind of a trail in general, because it seems like you work on a lot of these type of cases. Next best action has a lot of the framework to build that out.
Other questions?
Did you hear that?
I didn't. Here's the mic.
So users that are not in Salesforce, so
What
can
about,
they use this one?
can they
My-
use myTrailhead?
Yes.
No, they can't right now. Right now, myTrailhead is an add-on license to Sales or Service Cloud or a platform. So they would need to be a Salesforce user to use it. Is there one over here?
Hold on a second. I just want to make sure we're clear. Were you talking about using myTrailhead or using what Chris built? Yeah, myTrailhead. Exactly. Yeah. Right. Okay. We can talk about it afterwards. I can talk to you afterwards. But yes, good question.
Yeah, so next best actions, it's part of the Einstein portfolio. If you have Sales Cloud Einstein, Service Cloud Einstein, it's part of that SKU. You can also get it separately and then have it added to your org for any, outside of the Service Cloud context, right? But it's not something that's turned on out of the box.
Yeah. We built, the recommendations we built was kind of like a poor man's that. We actually defined the rules, just very programmatically using Process Builder. Yeah. Yeah. Everything we showed is all GA, all live. You can do it now. You can download the Trail Tracker app, whether you're a myTrailhead customer or not. You can extend it the same way we did. You have to be a myTrailhead customer to then create your custom content.
Yeah, and the Lightning Web Components that Chris developed for this, that's all available in that Git repository.
Yeah, free, unsupported GitHub.
Although, can you go back to the slide for the GitHub just in case you'd like to take a picture or just jot it down? Cool.
Any other questions for here?
Yeah, so what I would tell you is that the scenario that you're looking for, I have customers I'm working with right now, have the exact same questions. And there's a lot of ways that we can integrate outside systems within the Salesforce platform, and then also integrate myTrailhead in, and then provide that unified learning experience. But what I would say is every case is kind of unique. And so at that point, we're not going to solve that on the stage right now. We would have to have that discussion outside and figure out how you would want to pull things together.
Yeah, well, what's really nice, we didn't show it, but with trail mixes, you can add custom steps that can go out to other systems if you want them to go do some learning someplace else. So all the learning doesn't have to be contained into myTrailhead. You can link out to videos and other resources, internal resources that you have. So it doesn't have to be just what you build in myTrailhead.
Yeah, and if you think about the onboarding object that we created, right? If you had integrations between Salesforce and that LMS that you have today, that you can bring back, was this completed, was not completed, you could check those off inside that object, and then have, in conjunction with it, the trails assigned. And so kind of get the best of both worlds, of being able to track what's completed in that onboarding journey in learning in Salesforce with myTrailhead, as well as learning outside of Salesforce in whatever LMS tool you already have.
So the question was, is hands-on challenges available in myTrailhead right now? So right now, the offering for challenges is quizzes only, but the team is working on building the hands-on challenges into the product in the near future. Actually, Jeff Douglas right here is leading that team. and his team is building that technology so customers will be able to create their own hands-on challenges in their myTrailhead orgs for their employees. But for now, it's quiz only.
And just to be clear, the hands-on challenges, for those that, when you're doing Trailhead, it's when you log into an org and you're given a number of steps, and then you have to check it, and it logs into that org to check it. So, like Vic said, that's on the roadmap. Cool. Any other questions?
So we have 0 seconds left.
Cool, we're at
time.
10:40, everyone. Thank you for attending, everyone.
Thank
If you
you.
have some questions, we'll be here. We're going to do this session again, but a shorter version at 1:30 at the Trailhead Theater. So we're going to be doing more of the demo version, but you can also come by the myTrailhead booths on the first floor in the Trailhead Zone to learn more. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you.